top boxing news. Ow!
Okay, we'll start with this. A little bit more insight, a little bit more clarity into what exactly the holdup is between what's supposed to be the Hannah Rankin versus Natasha Jonas unification match. Apparently, the unification match is in jeopardy because Hannah Rankin has received another offer for another fight with another fighter. Not a champion.
But this is supposed to be for a career-high purse.
I think when Natasha catches wind of this, if she hasn't already, it's gonna really bake her noodle. Everything Boxing has been reliably informed that Natasha Jonas versus Hannah Rankin could be in jeopardy, as Team Hannah Rankin has apparently been made a 6-digit offer from Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing to defend her WBA, IBO Super Welterweight titles against Terry Harper on DAZN in September or October. This offer is understood to be a career highest payday for Rankin, greater than her fights with Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall, and a sum larger than offered by Boxer for Natasha Jonas versus Hannah Rankin on Sky Sports in Liverpool in September. Natasha Jonas versus Hannah Rankin would be a fight unifying Hannah Rankin's WBA and Natasha Jonas's WBO 154-pound belts, while a fight with Yorkshire's Harper would see Harper move up 3 weight divisions in a true seeking greatness type of contest. The contest between Jonas and Rankin was discussed even before Rankin successfully defended her WBA title via 10th round TKO.
Hey, at least now we know what the holdup is.
Natasha Jonas very recently stated that she felt the Rankin people were making things difficult. I myself very recently evaluated the situation and the open exchange both teams had by way of social media and came to the conclusion that it was in fact Team Rankin that were dragging their feet, and at least now we know why.
Money talks.
And when money talks, people listen. In May, negotiations were understood to be in full flow with Jonas waiting for a fight with Rankin. In recent weeks, Team Jonas confirmed there was no deal and they set deadlines for contracts to be signed. No decision has been made as of yet as to which offer Team Rankin will take.
Well, Ben Shalom's gonna have to write Hannah a bigger check if he wants to secure that fight.
Whether or not you out there want to classify this as an according to Hoyle duck is up to you, though the situation as it stands is a situation where Hannah stands to make more money defending her title as a defending champion instead of unifying it.
She stands to make more money defending her title against Terry rather than unifying it with Natasha.
But at least now we know that Natasha wasn't exactly the problem here. There were some people in a hurry to blame Natasha for the stalled negotiation process when it really does seem that it was Team Rankin that was being divisive. It was Team Rankin that were dragging their feet. And whether or not you think they were dragging their feet with good reason, they were dragging their feet.
That bit of it we can say here and now. They were dragging their feet because they received another offer.
So Terry Harper is willing to take the same leap of faith that Natasha Jonas took in her last fight. She saw herself going all the way up there to 154 pounds to take on Chris Namis for the newly vacated WBO title. Terry Harper, belter, is willing to take such a leap against Hannah Rankin.
Hannah may view Terry as being more vulnerable than Natasha.
She might. Look, both fighters have been stopped before. Natasha Jonas was stopped years ago in a shock upset loss to Brazil's own Vivian Obanoff, but Terry Harper was stopped more recently, just last year, by Alicia Baumgartner, a naturally smaller woman than Hannah Rankin.
In a fight that took place in more recent memory, so maybe she views Terry as being more vulnerable.
Even if she doesn't, the fight with Terry is worth more money, and as I stated earlier, money talks, and when it does, people listen.
You put the shoe on the other foot, and both Team Jonas and Team Harper, they must look at Hannah as being very beatable.
That they are both pursuing a fight with her. You know, Team Rankin and Team Jonas's negotiation process was known to the public. It wasn't a secret that they were negotiating a fight. And coincidentally, Matchroom chose to go after Hannah Rankin when they could have just as easily gone after Canada's own Marie-Eve Dicaire. She's got the IBF title.
She's not doing nothing right now. Why didn't they go after her?
Why go after Hannah? You know Hannah's in the middle of negotiations with Natasha, and I think the reason they went after Hannah, knowing that she was in negotiations for a fight with Natasha, is because they view Hannah Rankin.
They view her as being very beatable.
Is she that beatable, though? That's the question. Don't forget what Hannah Rankin just did very recently to Mexico's own Phoenix Ayala, a very precarious situation that thankfully worked out for the best in the end. Phoenix Ayala was placed into an induced coma, and her health and well-being was under great jeopardy. Thankfully, the doctors worked their magic, and she's going to be okay. But that's what Hannah Rankin did to a girl in her last fight. Could that happen to Terry?
She stopped Phoenix Ayala in the 10th round,
which led to complications post-fight. Terry Harper, she's been stopped before, and it wasn't that long ago. That was just two fights ago she got stopped. She rebounded off the loss, but she's a naturally smaller woman than Hannah Rankin, and I'd wager not as durable. Now, maybe Terry Harper has a decent enough frame that she can carry that weight. She can carry 154 pounds.
but that doesn't make her a true junior middleweight.
In a fight against Hannah, I think Terry Harper would have the edge in speed. Even if she's not a natural junior middleweight, she'll be a little faster, she'll be a little bit more accurate, more fleet of foot, and more athletic.
But I don't see a knockout happening.
It took the very heavy-handed Savannah Marshall to dish out Hannah Rankin's first knockout loss. Terry Harper packs a decent enough punch as a super featherweight and a lightweight, but up there at junior middleweight,
This is insane.
though not insurmountable. On the premise of Terry Harper's athleticism and speed, she can perhaps outpoint Hannah Rankin, who will be significantly slower than Terry.
Yeah, it's possible Terry can win this fight on points, but she can't let Hannah land clean.
We may be getting ahead of ourselves because the fight's not done yet anyway, even though it does feel like Hannah might decide to go for the big bucks.
Yeah, unless Ben Shalom can write her a check that changes her mind.
At least now we know what the holdup was. In men's middleweight news, Jermall Charlo, reigning WBC middleweight champion, states, "I'm getting overlooked at 160. Benavidez' fight will happen when it makes sense."
But you're not doing anything right now, so it makes sense right now.
Nothing ever happened with Munguia. I just never got a chance to deliver that contract. And he never got a chance to deliver his to me. We never fought. There was never much talk about a fight with Munguia, said Charlo. Triple G, on the other hand, he's been at 160. He was a monster at 160. I guess he's moving up to 168 to try and fight Canelo. I'm getting overlooked right now in the division. It's not me, y'all. I'm the 160-pound champion. Where are all the other belts at? I want all the belts in the division, like my brother, Jermall, who is the undisputed champion at 154 pounds. I want to be able to unify and become one of the best middleweights to go down in history.
And why'd you blow off a Demetrius Andrade fight when it was offered to you?
Fight was on the table for Jermall Charlo if he wanted it for something like, what, 2, maybe 3 years?
You know what he was saying over a year ago? He says nobody cares about Demetrius and nobody cares about his belt.
But now you want to unify. Now you want to become the middleweight division's undisputed champion.
Why didn't you want it then when it was offered to you? Why now?
Jermall Charlo has campaigned exclusively as a middleweight since 2017, and moving to 168 pounds appears to be right around the corner for the right fight at the right time, especially against Benavidez. No one is at fault. We both have the same handlers. When it makes sense, it will happen. Fans, be patient. I want the Benavidez fight, so the fight is going to happen. Charlo believes the Benavidez bout is the most realistic fight to make next year when factoring a trio of names, including Alvarez and Golovkin.
Alvarez and Golovkin don't fight on your platform.
Alvarez and Golovkin are preoccupied, and everybody's known for some time that they've been preoccupied.
And what they've been preoccupied with.
What is it that Jermall Charlo has campaigned as a middleweight as far back as 2017, yet it's still Gennady Golovkin that reigns as this division's unified champion, while Jermall was too...
Well, he couldn't be bothered to unify with Demetrius Andrade. He was too good for that. He actually said he'd move up in weight before he fights that guy.
That's what he said about 2 years ago, maybe 3, to Nestor Gibbs of the Boxing Voice. And did Jermall Charlo make good on his word? Did he decide to move up in weight? Years later, he still hasn't. He's still rationalizing why he shouldn't have to do that yet.
He's still using a Canelo Alvarez fight as an excuse.
Oh, they offered Canelo $45 million, because Canelo Alvarez can't get $45 million anywhere else, right?
Right.
Get it right. When you're talking about Canelo Alvarez, it's not actually you offering him $45 million. He can get $45 million at the Zone just as easily as he could get it at Showtime.
Canelo's the one that justifies the network putting up that kind of money. Canelo's the one that adds that value to a fight.
Still sour grapes for little old Jermall, who says, Canelo says I have nothing to offer him. I got a couple of fans that want to see the fight. The world wants to see it. He just lost to Bivol. You want a tune-up fight? He turned down $50 million. It is what it is. I just knew it was going to happen.
Tune-up fight. He's about to fight the guy that you're trying to fight.
However you want to classify it, however you want to categorize it. Jermall Charlo just said he wants a Golovkin fight. Well, that's who Canelo Alvarez is about to fight. What's the matter? You mad you can't swim with the big fish? the real big fish in the sport of boxing.
Jermall Charlo likes to alternate between avoiding David Benavidez to avoiding Demetrius Andrade. Back to avoiding David Benavidez.
A couple of years ago, he said he'd rather move up in weight than take on Demetrius Andrade and unify titles with him at 160 pounds. That's what he said a couple of years ago. He hasn't moved up yet. Now what he's saying is Andrade threw away his belt. The dude has no pride. He was supposed to fight my brother at 154 pounds, and he canceled that fight too. We're not going to keep giving you all these opportunities, and you're not taking
What
them.
opportunity did Jermall Charlo give Demetrius Andrade?
He's still prattling on about a fight between his brother and Demetrius that didn't happen, but that has absolutely nothing to do with you, Jermall. They offered you a multi-million-dollar purse, a multi-million-dollar payday to come over to the zone for a one-off situation and unify titles with Demetrius Andrade. You didn't want to do that. And then when Demetrius offered to come over to your side of things, your guy, Tom Brown of TGB Promotions, he didn't want to pay for the fight.
So you don't want to go to them and you don't want them to come to you.
You don't want to fight. You don't want to unify. You're alternating between avoiding a fight with a guy who's on your side of the street and avoiding a fight with a guy who's not on your side of the street. And that's all Jermall Charlo's been doing for the last 2.5 years.
Jermall Charlo's a putt.
A schmuck. He's a waste of time, a waste of space in the middleweight division. He's been avoiding a fight with Demetrius Andrade for a little over 2 years now. And when it comes to his PBC stablemate,
That guy.
David Benavidez, he's been avoiding a fight with that guy for about 2 years. March, April, around there, 2020, he said he'd move up in weight. He said he'd knock that guy out. 2 years later,
There were actually people out there that are willing to die on a hill over this guy.
fought only once last year, holding out hope that he could get a Canelo fight, knowing that Canelo was in the midst of an undisputed campaign, and in all likelihood, he's not going to go back down to 160. He may not even stay at 168 pounds. In all likelihood, he'll go back up to 175, which he did.
Jermall Charlo's a bozo.
Ended up pulling out of the proposed Maciej-Suliecki fight due to what was reportedly a back injury. That didn't stop him from slamming down drinks at the club with his buddies. Better still, that's the story. And now what he's talking about is unification matches with fighters that are otherwise preoccupied or fighters that he blew off.
Because everybody knew that Golovkin was going to fight Murata, and everybody knows that he's going to fight Canelo.
Does this guy live under a rock? He didn't know that. He doesn't know that. When they offered him a Demetrius Andrade unification match more than once, he completely blew off the idea, said he'd rather move up in weight, and he still hasn't done that. Still hasn't fought Andrade either, but he means to become this division's undisputed champion. How? If the WBO title ends up in the hands of Yanni Bekalim Kanuli, Gennady Golovkin's countryman, will Jermall Charlo keep the same energy? Will he still be all for unification matches and becoming this division's undisputed champion?
I'm telling you, he alternates between avoiding David Benavidez and avoiding Demetrius Andrade back to avoiding David Benavidez.
This has been the story of Jermall Charlo's career for at least 2, maybe even 3 years now.
And it's pathetic, the way he keeps skipping out on all these guys with all these lame excuses.
I really don't know how this is going to end for Jermall Charlo, because he's trying vehemently to circumvent interesting fights that have been available to him, some that still are.
But all this unification, undisputed talk, it's going to come back to haunt him the same way that many things he's said.
Same way many things he's said have come back to haunt him. Like what he said about moving up in weight instead of fighting Demetrius Andrade, what he said about moving up in weight to fight David Benavidez, what he said about not moving up in weight to fight David Benavidez. Finally, in men's lightweight news, Michel Rivera to Gervonta Davis, fight me or vacate the title.
The secondary title, the baby belt.
Is that what all the hubbub is over? Michel Rivera was quoted as saying, "I've been waiting for a year to become a world champion. It is one of my dreams, and the WBA promised me an eliminator bout, which hasn't happened. I am the mandatory to Gervonta Davis' title, so he can fight me or vacate the title," Rivera told BoxingScene.com. Gervonta is a great fighter, one of the best in the division, but I am a fighter with all of the necessary qualities to win a title. I have been waiting for a long time for my opportunity. The 24-year-old Rivera was last in action in February when he defeated Joseph Adorno via unanimous decision. In 2021, he went 3-0, which included stoppage wins over John Fernandez and Anthony Mercado Reyes. He's one of the young fighters, the young unbeaten fighters that they are developing over there at the PBC. His name has been in the running for a Gervonta Davis fight for some time, though in many ways it seems like
his name's been in the running for that fight because he put it there. The WBA hasn't ordered Davis to fight him.
Now, I think it's a great fight that the fans will enjoy. I am ranked by all four of the organizations and am sure that I will win this fight. I am 23-0 and am the reincarnation of Muhammad Ali. The whole world will know that once I become a world champion.
It's an interesting situation because the WBA might order Gervonta to fight him.
Earlier this year, the WBA was in the midst of phasing out secondary titles and ordering matches between regular champions and interim champions, regular champions and full champions. I mean, that's what they've been doing, though it seems like that effort has slowed as of late. Currently, Gervonta Davis is in possession of a secondary title. The primary title is held by Devin Haney, and you have to wonder, which fight is the WBA going to order? Are they going to order Gervonta Davis to fight Devin Haney, or are they going to order Gervonta Davis to fight Michel Rivera in defense of his secondary title?
Michel Rivera's not a bad fighter, and a fight between him and Gervonta isn't even a bad fight.
But it's not a pay-per-view worthy fight either. If we're going to talk about pay-per-view worthy matchups, that would be Devin Haney versus Gervonta Davis for what is the undisputed lightweight championship of the world. That would be a pay-per-view worthy matchup.
Yeah, it would, though it's neither here nor there because George is supposed to be exercising his rematch clause.
That's the story. Devin Haney may be preoccupied at the moment, leaving the door open for Gervonta Davis to negotiate a fight with Michel Rivera, if he so chooses, should such a fight be ordered. Though in truth, even if Devin weren't preoccupied, I was never expecting Gervonta Davis to pursue a fight with him.
Yeah, even if George hadn't exercised his rematch clause, I wasn't expecting Gervonta to go after Devin.
Just being honest, a fight with Michel Rivera is an interesting little fight, though not pay-per-view worthy, and I question what a fight like that does at the box office when Michel Rivera has next to no marquee value. The only claim to fame he has is a fleeting semblance, a fleeting resemblance to Muhammad Ali.
I don't think he could sell a fight with Gervonta as good as Rolly sold that fight with Gervonta.
It's the funniest thing. You won't find many people high on Rolly Romero's boxing, but his showmanship.
Michel Rivera has the look of being a better, more educated boxer than Rolly, but Rolly's a better showman.
Michel Rivera claims he's in a pole position to challenge Gervonta Davis for that WBA regular title, and we'll see about that. I reiterate, I know of no such order that has come down from the WBA mandating Gervonta Davis to fight him.
Wasn't it the WBA that ordered Gervonta to fight Rolly?
He just satisfied that order, so I don't get the sense another one is going to come right behind it.
I don't know. We'll see.